Broadcasting live from somewhere in the Shadow Realm, this is YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Here's your host, Doug Dimmadoo.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Today, I'm going to go over a deck build that I've been having a lot of fun playing around with in Platinum ranked duels right now. It really does a good job holding its own, and there's not a whole lot of expensive pieces to it, aside from probably what you may or may not already have lying around in your collection if you've been jumping into a lot of the box sets. You can make changes as you see fit, depending on what cards you have available. But this is just kind of the overall strategy of mine. This is a Joey Wheeler True Warriors type of deck. You're using the skill fields of the Warriors. It allows you to start with the field spell on the field that boosts all your Warriors, Beast Warriors, and stuff like that by 200 attack, which is just extremely helpful. Given that a lot of the support cards that we're going to have are not the strongest, but given a power boost, you could really use the help. So, as far as my big boss monster, my big power play, in this deck, I like to use Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordmaster. It's a level 7 warrior with 2600 attack and 2300 defense. Its effect is, this card's name becomes Buster Blader while it's on the field or in the graveyard. If a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of those destroyed monsters and equip it to this card. Once per turn, you can send one monster card you control that is equipped to this card to the graveyard and destroy all monsters your opponent controls with the same type as that monster sent to the graveyard. So, it's big playability, especially if you're going up against an opponent who runs just one attribute type of monsters. You see it a lot with dragon decks, with dinosaur decks, fiend decks, warrior decks even, where you're going to see a lot of the same type of attribute monsters. So if you're able to have this card on the field when you destroy an opponent's monster through card effect or through battle, definitely grab that card, equip it to your Buster Blader here and the Destruction Swordmaster, and you're able to, within your next main phase turn, just send that card to the graveyard and destroy all your opponent's monsters that have that attribute, and it works out really, really nicely. The thing is, not a lot of people really remember this card. I don't see a lot of people using this card, but yeah, when people don't remember, you end up taking advantage of it, so it works out real nicely. The next card that I have here is Freed the Matchless General, level 5 warrior, 2300 attack, 1700 defense. Negate any spell effects that target this card, and if you do, destroy that spell card. During your draw phase, instead of conducting your normal draw, you can add one level 4 or lower warrior type monster from your deck to your hand. This card must be face up on the field to activate and to resolve this effect. Now that second effect is absolutely crucial in this deck, and this is why I kind of toggle between only running one copy of Freed the Matchless General and sometimes 2 copies, but for right now I'm only running one. But the thing is, at the beginning of every turn, if maybe your hand is pretty short as far as level 4 or lower monsters, you're able to pick exactly the one that you want. And you'll see why that's crucial in the meantime, because the first card that I have that's level 4 or lower is DD Warrior. And I have 2 copies of it in this deck because, aside from spending my 500 gems on the Joey Structure deck, I also spent the $1.99 for the sale to get one more copy. Now, DD Warrior is a fantastic card. If you're not familiar with it, you've probably seen it with level 40 Kaiba. If you're trying to farm him, it's a really difficult card to deal with, but it's got a 1200 attack and 1000 defense. After damage calculation, when this card battles a monster, banish that monster and also banish this card. The reason why I like this one so much is because it works really well against cards that have effects about when they get destroyed, or stuff like Toon Monsters, which they have all the support to keep them on the field and keep them from getting destroyed, having Toon Kingdom and using the magic reflector on that Toon Kingdom to keep your toons protected. Well, when you run into a Toon Monster with DD Warrior, they could do whatever they want to do with that Toon Kingdom, but at the end of the day, that Toon Monster is going to end up banished. There's no way around it, and that's why I love using DD Warrior. If I do decide to spend the extra $4, it would be well worth it getting a 3rd copy of this card. At least for now, given the way that things are in the meta. So what I end up doing too is I run 2 copies of Boxer. It's the super rare from the most recent box set, the Generation Next. And this card's really good. It's a warrior with 1800 attack and 1000 defense. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can place one counter on this card. You can send this card with 2 or more counters to the graveyard and special summon one earth monster from your deck. If this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove one counter from this card instead. So what this thing does is it has 2 good purposes. The first one is that it could keep itself on the field as long as it destroys a monster. Then you just remove one of the counters on it, and it ends up keeping itself on the field. The other one is if you're able to destroy 2 different monsters and get that up to 2 counters, then you could activate its effect and bring out, for example, a Buster Blade or the Destruction Swordmaster, and it works out really, really nicely if you're able to make that happen. Or even a Freed the Matchless General. You're able to go, whatever route you have, any type of card. But hey, even DD Warrior is also an Earth monster, so if you really need DD Warrior in a pinch, you can use Boxer's effect to bring out that DD Warrior and go from there. So a lot of big play potential. If I could get a 3rd copy of Boxer, I may add it to this deck. I may kind of tweak things around. But for now, I'm leaving it at 2. Next one I have is 3 copies of Marmoting Captain. It's a level 3 warrior, 1200 attack, 1400 defense. When this card is normal summoned, you can shuffle 1 card from your hand into the deck and then draw 1 card. Then you can special summon it if it's a monster. This card will go well in really just about any deck, but because it's warriors, I'm keeping with the theme. So what I end up doing is normal summoning it. Usually what I'll do is I won't shuffle back a spell or trap card in there, because then that means there's going to be 1 additional spell or trap card that may be drawn. You're playing with probabilities here. What I'll do is if I have a Buster Blader or if I have a Freed the Matchless General in my hand, I'll shuffle that monster back into the deck, hoping that at least one of the multiple copies will get drawn. And, every once in a while I will get Buster Blader and then be able to special summon it right away, even in the 1st or 2nd turn, which is fantastic. So Marmoting Captain is just an absolute beast in this warrior deck. It is a really, really good card, one of the MVPs for sure. Then what I do just to round things out, I run 2 copies of X-Saber and New Piranha. It's just a level 4 warrior, plain vanilla, 1800 attack, 1100 defense. So it's just a good 1800 beater, but with you have the Fields of the Warriors skill, you're talking about a 2000 beater right away. So yeah, overall real good. Now we're getting into the spells, the standard enemy controller. I just run 1 copy of this card. You already know what it does. Then I run 3 copies of Sword of Dragon's Soul. It's an equipped spell card that you're able to get in the Joey structure deck, where this card can only be equipped to a warrior-type monster. A monster equipped with this card increases its attack by 700 points. A dragon-type monster that battles with the monster equipped with this card is destroyed at the end of the battle phase, and damage calculation is applied normally. So for those of you who are dealing with those pain-in-the-butt dragon decks, there's a solution for you right here. You can even equip it to your Marmoting Captain or your X-Saber, a New Piranha, and even if it's a real strong dragon, even if it's, say, a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon or a 5-headed dragon or something, you could use this spell card's effect then to send it to the graveyard after the battle phase. Other than that, the rest is up to your preference. I do run a copy of Floodgate Trap Hole because I do have a copy of that one, and this one is when your opponent summons a monster, change that monster to face down defense position, and monsters change to face down defense position by this effect cannot change their battle positions. Then I also run 1 copy of Mirror Wall because I have 1 copy. But for now, I run 2 copies of Ultimate Providence. It's a counter trap card where when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated, discard the same type of card and negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. So basically what you end up doing is, because I'm seeing so many of those ritual decks right now, I'm seeing so many monster skill-based decks, and seeing as more than half of my deck are monster cards, I will more likely than not have a monster sitting in my hand when I activate Ultimate Providence. So, for example, if you're having an opponent using one of those Cyber Angels and they want to activate their effect, you negate their effect and hopefully destroy it if nothing else gets in the way. But also, too, I like to use this against Relinquished. That's another real good example. It likes to activate its effect thinking it's going to grab one of my, maybe my Buster Blade or maybe my Freed or something like that. But nope, activate Ultimate Providence, discard a monster, negate the Relinquish effect, and destroy it in the process. So there's just a whole lot of good that could come out of that. And overall, it's just an absolute all-star. That's a real good trap card right now. So, but again, the spells and the traps, definitely start messing around with them depending on what you think you're going to be going up against, and, it kind of leaves things open. But definitely run those 3 copies of Sword of Dragon Soul, because what you're going to end up doing is have a card like Boxer out on the field, because you're using Fields of the Warriors, and that gives it a 2,000 attack off the get-go. Then you attach 1 or 2 copies of Sword of the Dragon Soul, and in the process of doing that, you're boosting its attack by 700. If you attach 2 copies of this card to it, then you're talking about a 3,400 attack monster. No tributes needed, no special summons needed. You just needed 2 copies of Sword of Dragon Soul if you're lucky enough to get them in your hand, and you can make some magic happen. So it's just probably one of the better situations as far as equip cards are concerned, because I know that there are more and more powerful equip spell cards. But this one is definitely one of the better ones for now, and it works in this deck because every monster is a warrior. So it's real fun to play. I've done real well with it. I've gone on some real good winning streaks within Platinum. Got up to Plat 3 pretty quickly with this deck already. Then went on a bit of a skid, just a lot of terrible matchups, bricking a lot of hands and stuff. It'll happen. Your typical ebbs and flows. But of course, as you know, it's so much easier to get bumped down in ranked duels than it is to get bumped up. So, but anyway, that's part of the process. That's part of the grind. It's been a lot of fun, and this deck is one worth playing if you're sitting in gold or if you're sitting in platinum and you have a lot of these pieces. I definitely recommend building a deck similar. So if you've had a real successful warrior deck, I'd like to hear about that too. Reach out to me on Twitter at YuGiOh Deck Talk. It's all one word, at YuGiOh Deck Talk, and maybe I'll bring it up in a future podcast episode. But anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.